Billionaire discovers incredible truth at late wife's grave. Black girl reveals heartwarming secrets that will change everything. Henry Blackwell stood before the fresh grave, his heart heavy with grief. The sun pierced through the chilly Midwest air, but all he felt was the coldness of loss. Linda, his wife of 20 years, was gone. Suddenly, his world felt like a fragile glass, shattered and scattered. She had been the anchor in his chaotic billionaire life, the one who reminded him of the simple joys that money could never buy. Now, as he placed a bouquet of lilies on her grave, memories flooded back, her laughter, her warmth, her insistence that kindness was the most valuable currency. Feeling a knot tighten in his chest, he wiped away the tears. "What was the secret you were keeping?" he whispered. Linda had always been mysterious about a family secret, something she promised to reveal one day. With her gone, his life had become a desperate search for answers. As he turned to leave, a small voice called out, "Excuse me, mister." Henry looked down, startled. A 10-year-old girl stood there, her dark eyes lit with fierce determination. "Are you Henry Blackwell? The billionaire?" Maya, with her frizzy hair and hand-me-down clothes, wore an expression that could shatter anyone's heart. "Are you sad because your wife is gone?" Taken aback, he nodded. "Yes. I miss her very much." Maya stepped closer. "I heard she used to help my mom when we struggled to buy food. It's why I wanted to meet you." Stunned, Henry dropped to one knee, looking into her earnest eyes. In that moment, he realized Linda's legacy extended well beyond their luxurious life. She had left an indelible mark on this community, a tapestry woven with threads of love, help, and hope. "Tell me more," he urged, genuinely intrigued. Maya beamed. "My mom works 2 jobs. She's always saving so I can chase my dreams. I want to be a doctor." Her ambition shined brighter than the sun above them, igniting a flicker of hope within Henry. A dream he could help turn into reality. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. With renewed vigor, Henry took it upon himself to honor Linda's memory through acts of kindness. But as he rolled out plans to help families like Maya's, he was confronted by the skepticism of the local elite. They whispered harsh words, viewing him not as a savior but as a threat. Jealousy flared, and suddenly, everything he sought to build crumbled into misunderstandings. Henry took a stand. It was difficult. Confrontation stirred rage within him. This was no longer just about him and his wealth, it was about Maya and her dreams. This was about dignity, respect, and a shared vision for the future. But would the community rise with him against the tide of misunderstanding, or would they push back harder? As whispers turned to shouts, Henry felt the stakes rise. He had one chance to unite the town against prejudice and misunderstanding, one chance to honor Linda's legacy through love and action. Would he choose to fight, standing tall with Maya by his side, or would he retreat back to the shadows of his fortune? Uncertainty loomed as an answer hung in the balance, leaving a chilling question on the air. What sacrifices would they need to make to bridge the divide? The sense of impending change crackled like electricity in his veins, urging him forward, igniting a fire of hope and determination within their unlikely bond. Henry felt the heat of defiance rising within him, battling the swirling doubts. Standing there with Maya at his side, he knew he couldn't let whispers drown out Linda's legacy. Taking a deep breath, he glanced at Maya, her small frame radiating hope. This little girl had become a symbol of everything Linda believed in, of compassion and the importance of community. "I can't let this go," he declared, determination flooding his voice. With a plan forming in his mind, Henry decided to organize a town hall meeting, an open forum where he could share his vision for the community and invite everyone, even those who doubted him. There would be no hiding, no retreat. He wanted to connect, not just to shake hands but to genuinely listen. That evening, as the day turned to dusk, he called on a few key allies, people who had known Linda and loved her. He reached out to friends and neighbors, sharing his idea and inviting them to join him in bringing the community together. "We need to stand up for what Linda believed in," he said passionately. "We can inspire hope. We can help each other." The nods of agreement were small but powerful. That night, the seeds of change were sown amid the flickering lights around his expansive dining table, buzzing with energy and purpose. As the town hall approached, whispers filled the air, still questioning his intentions. But Henry leaned on the support of those who believed in him and the legacy of his wife. On the day of the meeting, he stood before the crowd, heart racing. Faces he recognized and many he didn't. Filled the chairs, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady but laced with emotion. "I know I'm not from here. I came from a world of wealth, but that doesn't define my heart or my values. It's Linda's kindness that brought me here, and I want to honor that. We can do more together than apart." The murmurs of dissent hushed slightly as he recounted stories of Linda's efforts to uplift those in struggle, like Maya's mother. As he spoke honestly, his vulnerability broke through the fortress of doubt. Some began to nod in agreement, while others exchanged uncertain glances. Maya sat in the front row, her eyes shining like stars. At one point, she piped up, "Mr. Blackwell is my friend. He wants to help us." Her voice rang clear and true, a young beacon of hope amidst the older, jaded faces. A collective sigh swept through the crowd. Henry felt the air shift as his words began to resonate, transforming doubt into a cautious light of understanding. He could see that a bridge was forming, slowly but surely. But then a loud voice cut through the air, challenging him. "What do you know about our real struggles? Can a billionaire really understand us?" The words hung heavily in the room, vulnerable yet searing. The question rattled him, anger flashed through his veins. But it was with a calm resolve that he responded. "I may not fully understand, but I want to learn. I want to listen and grow with this community. It's time we took these first steps together." A moment of silence enveloped them. Could he really stand the pressure of that challenge? As he awaited the tides of change to turn in his favor, a familiar voice soared from behind. "We all need someone like Henry." It was Linda's best friend, Claire, who stepped forward, her courage sparking hope in others. With the weight of community expectation upon him, Henry faced the crowd. It was a pivotal moment, but the true question lingered: would they rise together or wash his dreams away in doubt? The tension was palpable as everyone waited for the next words to unfold. Would they accept his plea, or would his effort be washed away like sand in the tide? The answer felt as close as their breath, teetering on the edge of what might come next. The silence broke at last, a new voice cutting through the tension. "What if we gave him a chance?" It was an older woman, someone Henry recognized as Mrs. Thompson, a figure in the community who had always been straightforward. Her words hung in the air, sparking murmurs among the crowd. Henry felt the spark of hope. "Exactly," he said, his voice rising slightly. "What if we do? I'm here because I want to support you, not dictate." He searched the room with genuine warmth, making eye contact with as many people as he could. Someone in the back raised a hand. "But how? How do you plan on understanding us?" "By listening," he replied, careful not to let the rising passion overtake him. "I want to start a conversation. I want to learn what you need and how I can help." Maya, sensing the shift, whispered to him, "You're doing great, Mr. Blackwell." Her simple encouragement steadied his heart. "I want to create a community center," he said, shifting gears. "A place where kids can gather, where you can connect and find resources. I want it to be a space that reflects everyone's input and needs. And every voice matters, even if you don't agree with me." Faces began to relax, and some people leaned forward, intrigued. A young man in the front spoke up. "What is your plan to fund it? Money from your pocket? We don't want handouts." "No," Henry said firmly, this isn't about me giving you something. It's about sustainable growth. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. I want to help generate opportunities for you. I want to bring in local businesses, generate jobs, and work together to lift each other up. A spark of discussion roared back to life among the crowd, the energy shifting from doubt to curiosity. He could see people processing, their guards lowering. Just then, Claire chimed in again. And we want to run programs too. Teach skills, have art classes for our kids. This can work. Her eyes shone, infecting others with her vision. Encouraged by that, Henry took a deep breath and leaned into their enthusiasm. Yes. That's it. Let us brainstorm together. What do you want? What do you need? Maya's small voice rose again. Can we have a playground? Like one with swings? Henry smiled at her, the innocence of her request tugging at his heart. Absolutely, Maya. A playground it is. But let us dream bigger than swings. What else can we create together? The tone in the room transformed, turning from suspicion into a collaborative spirit. They were a community, not just a collection of individuals, and little by little, minds were opening. Henry could feel the walls of separation closing in, allowing hope to pour into the gaps. All right, someone shouted, a cautious willingness breaking through. Let us say we go along with this. What's the first step? Henry grinned, adrenaline coursing through him. Let us schedule another meeting. A planning session. Bring your ideas. Your dreams. Let us turn them into a reality. He could see people nodding, exchanging glances filled with possibilities. A ripple of excitement traveled through the crowd. With newfound energy circulating, he could almost touch the future they could build together. But then, just as optimism spread, a voice emerged from the back, challenging once more. And what if we don't want your help? What if you're just another outsider trying to change us? The question struck deep, and the crowd hung heavy again, their resolve wavered. Henry swallowed hard, faced with another challenge, their trust still unearned. Would they allow him to be part of their journey, or was his dream already unraveling? In that moment, he realized it was all or nothing as a knot tightened in his stomach. He had come seeking redemption, but now he was fighting for acceptance. What would it take to prove he was one of them? The air thickened with tension as everyone awaited his response, the future still hanging in the balance. Henry's heart raced as the weight of the room pressed down on him. All eyes locked onto him, curious, skeptical, and a few hopeful. He took a deep breath and tried to ground himself. I get it. I'm an outsider. He paused, letting those words sink in. But I'm also someone who has lost everything. When my wife passed, I visited her grave every day, hoping to find peace. That's when I realized it's not just about me anymore. The murmurs rose again. Was he really connecting, or were they just humoring him? I know that feeling lonely can tear a community apart, he continued, his voice steady. But I believe we can build something together. Something that shows everyone here that you matter. That you have every right to dream and to thrive. Claire leaned in, her attention unwavering. But what if it fails? What if we waste our time? Henry met her gaze, a smile flickering at the corners of his mouth. What if it doesn't? What if we create a place where kids can laugh and learn? Where families find help and resources? When I build that, I'm not just aiming for a center. I'm aiming to rewrite the story of this neighborhood. No more outsiders. Just us, building together. Maya's eyes widened with excitement. Like a superhero team. The crowd chuckled, a tiny crack in the armor of seriousness that was holding them back. That's right. Henry felt pulsing energy in the air. And every great team needs its players. Each of you has unique strengths. I want to harness that. Let us talk about what you all care about. A voice rose from the back, this time softer. Okay, let us say we try it. How do we know this isn't just talk? Henry nodded, appreciating the challenge. Let me show you how serious I am. If you're willing, I'll set up a community fund for my resources. You decide where it goes. You're the heart of this operation. I'm just the spark trying to ignite the flame. The crowd buzzed with a mixture of disbelief and intrigue. It was a huge leap of faith, but his sincerity held weight. What if we don't want your money? Someone shot back. We want to be the ones in control. Then we find ways to make that happen, Henry replied, meeting each gaze in return. I might be providing initial funding, but the leadership. That's all you. I'll be your support, and you decide the direction. Slowly, he began to see nodding heads, sparking conversations. Ideas were bubbling beneath the surface, shared glances of interest heating back into the air. Could they really reclaim their narrative? As they dove into brainstorming, a sense of solidarity began to form, a gossamer thread woven from shared goals and dreams. Henry could feel it shifting again, the almost tangible space of hope wrapping around them. But just as the energy surged, a woman's voice disrupted. What if the money runs out? What then? Henry felt another knot tighten in his stomach, but this time it was different, it was motivation. Then we find new ways to earn it, he said. We'll build businesses together, champion local talent. Let us host events to gather funds, get creative. Our success will be community-driven. It can't just be about me. Everyone fell silent, their eyes glinting with a mixture of doubt and budding trust. It was a tantalizing proposition, one that could lead them somewhere they hadn't dared to dream before, but unspoken questions lingered. Would they really let him in? Deep in thought, Henry failed to notice the tension building once more in the back. Who was holding on to the past? What if old grudges resurfaced? Just as he was ready to press forward, the sinister edge of a familiar voice pierced through the hopeful atmosphere. You really think that, don't you? You think they'll just forget? The crowd's reaction shifted, uncertainty began to creep back into the room. Henry's heart sank. He recognized that voice too well. It was someone from his past, someone who knew the truths buried beneath hope. And the question loomed larger than ever, could he really earn not just respect, but forgiveness? Who are you? Henry's voice wavered slightly as he faced the woman stepping forward from the shadows. It was Lena, a figure from a time he had tried to bury, a remnant of his past mistakes. The look in her eyes was like a cold wind, stirring up memories of hardship and betrayal. I'm the one who lost everything because of you, she replied, the weight of her accusation echoing in the charged atmosphere. The crowd shifted uneasily. Faces turned from Henry to Lena, caught between the hopeful promises he laid out and the reality of his past. What do you mean? Henry pressed, aware of the tension tightening around his heart. Every accusation felt like a pin-prick on his hope, but he stood firm. I'm trying to build something good here. I thought you understood that. Lena took a step closer, allowing the dim light to reveal the bitterness etched into her features. I used to believe that. But how can we trust a man who once walked away when things got tough? You think giving us money will erase the past? It doesn't work like that. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Henry felt their doubt hang heavy in the air. Lena's words were familiar hooks, tugging at the threads of guilt and shame he often tried to forget. Look, Henry said, voice steady, I know I have not been a perfect person. I made my share of mistakes. But I'm trying to do better. We all deserve a chance at something new. If this is about the past, then let us talk about how we can change that future together. Lena crossed her arms, unimpressed. Talk doesn't mean anything if the foundation is broken. What you need to realize is that while you might be ready to move on, many of us aren't. Some wounds are deep and festering. Henry searched the crowd, eyes wide in a plea for understanding. They were listening intently now, silent but visibly torn. Maybe Lena was right. Maybe for some, his offer felt like dust carried on the wind, promising stability while being swept away too easily. I can't fix what's broken in the past, he continued, a tremor in his voice, but I can try to create something that will last. Something you can shape. I may have been an outsider before, but I want to become part of this community, and that starts here. Why should we believe you? Claire's voice sliced through the tension once again. It's easy to make promises. We've heard them before. Henry closed his eyes for a moment. He could feel the weight of each question like a brick on his chest. But he had to keep pushing through. Because I know what loss feels like. I know what it means to need help and not know where to find it. I'm not just a funder. I'm one of you in that way. Lena's expression softened for a brief moment, as though she was wrestling with her own emotions. But then, steeling herself, she narrowed her gaze. You need to understand, if you truly believe in this, you'll have to earn our trust. Trust isn't given lightly. It's forged through action, not words. Henry locked eyes with her, the intense determination in his chest swirling into a storm of resolve. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I just need you to show me how. A flicker of doubt crossed Lena's face, but it was quickly replaced by her unyielding spirit. Then prove it. This isn't just about you. We need to see if you really mean it. Her words hung in the silence, a challenge thrown into the open air. The crowd began to murmur, the atmosphere now charged with renewed energy, a combination of skepticism turning into cautious hope. Fine, Henry said, feeling adrenaline course through him. Let's organize a community event. Something big. You all will decide what it will be, how it will happen. Let us work together to make it real. But let us also keep it honest. No empty promises. As the crowd buzzed with whispers of excitement and strategies, a new energy filled the room. Something began to shift among them, warming the space they stood in, yet as the wheels started to turn, a shadow still loomed over Henry. Would Lena stay true to her word? And could he truly break down the barriers that his past had built? Before he could ponder for too long, a sharp voice cut through the hopeful dialogue. What about the rumors? What if they're true? Heads turned, the conversation stalling once more, as uneasy glances shot back and forth. Rumors? What had he missed? The air thickened with uncertainty, and Henry felt the tension return. More questions lay ahead, and his resolve would be tested in ways he could never have imagined. Henry's heart raced. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, equal parts curiosity and suspicion, as the weight of the unknown pressed down on him. He glanced around, trying to read the emotions churning through the faces in front of him. What rumors had they heard? Where did they come from, and how could he confront them? Rumors about him, a voice piped up from the back, barely above a whisper, about his past. Things that make people question his intentions. That simple statement landed like a punch to his gut. He had spent so long trying to make a fresh start. To reshape who he was, yet here it was the past clawing its way back, threatening to consume him again. What things? He asked, his voice firmer than he felt inside. He needed answers. Things that make you wonder if you really do care about us, another voice chimed in, the words laced with skepticism. Things we can't just ignore. Lena stepped forward, her gaze steady but searching. If you're willing to earn our trust, we have to talk about where you've been, not just where you're going. Henry took a deep breath, feeling the doubts around him like a tidal wave. He had long avoided the shadows of his past, preferring to focus on the light of his future. But now, it was clear that the past had a way of resurfacing, and this was a moment he couldn't escape. I can't change what I did, he admitted, voice low, but I won't run away from it anymore either. He met Lena's gaze head on. I walked away once. I was scared. I thought leaving would protect people from my failures, my losses. But I realize now that running from it only left more pain behind. The crowd remained silent, grappling with his words. He could see that some were still unsure, not yet convinced he was truly committed. So, let us talk, Henry continued, feeling bolder. If you're willing to share what you've heard, I'm ready to confront it. Together, we can bury the past. But I need your help. I can't do it alone. What do you want us to do? Claire's voice had softened, but a hint of hesitation remained. Help me set up the event. This is our chance to bring people together. What they say now, it can shape how we build this new beginning. But for that to happen, we need honesty. Gathering the truth to face it head-on, Lena said, her tone almost contemplative. That may be the first step. The tension in the air lightened just a bit. An opportunity sparked a glimmer of hope. With quick nods, several voices rose in agreement, pouring out suggestions and ideas for the event. It seemed like a plan was forming, but Henry couldn't shake the sense of urgency. But first, I need to know what's being said. If we're going to face it, I need to be prepared. A figure in the back spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. There are stories about your wife. About how it all ended. A chill ran through him. His heart sank. Stories? Henry echoed, feeling the weight of his past crashing down. He had thought he had blocked it out. But now, memories flooded back of whispered conversations, of late-night fights, and the moment everything had fallen apart. The community's eyes were on him, filled with a mix of empathy, curiosity, and skepticism. The room felt unbearably tight, and yet there was a new energy brewing, ready to ignite that he had to confront this, had to face the truth. But what if the truth shattered everything? Okay, he nodded slowly, heart pounding. Then we will talk about it. Together, we will face it. And just as those words left his lips, a young girl, small and bold, stepped forward, her eyes glistening with fierce conviction. But this isn't just about you, Mr. Henry. It's about all of us. He nodded, recognizing the enormity of what lay ahead. Would he be able to face the truth, even if it meant revisiting the pain? As murmurs swirled around him, Henry felt a determination build. Whatever had been said, the rumors, the distrust, he would confront it. And together, they would carve a new path forward, but as he stood there, heart racing, a seed of doubt tugged at him. What if opening that door led to something he couldn't control? No more secrets, he said firmly, though inside a storm brewed. And just as the discussions began to accelerate, the door swung open, and a familiar face walked in, one from his past he had never expected to see again. The room fell silent. The air crackled with new anticipation, and Henry felt the cold grip of uncertainty snap back as he whispered under his breath, "What is she doing here?" Henry's breath caught in his throat as he stared at the figure by the doorway. She looked exactly as he remembered, her curly hair bouncing slightly as she hesitated to step further inside. It was Mia. His heart thudded like a drum, and the room's silence seemed deafening. "What are you doing here?" he finally managed to say, his voice dangerously low, laced with disbelief. Mia paused, her eyes flicking around the room, meeting the curious gazes of the townsfolk. The community he sought to earn trust from but hadn't fully embraced yet. She took a bold step forward, and Henry could see the determination etched on her face. "I came because I heard rumors. I couldn't just stand by and let you face this alone," she answered, her voice steady, yet tinged with underlying anxiety. Whispers rippled through the crowd, but they were drowned out by the raging thoughts in Henry's mind. Memories flooded back, the laughter, the love, the painful goodbye. How could she just show up like this, after everything? Hadn't he fled precisely to avoid facing the ghosts of his past? "Henry," she said softly, as if sensing his turmoil. "I didn't want to believe the worst of you. I know how much you care about people, you always have." The words hit him like a beam of sunlight piercing through clouds. "You shouldn't be here," he replied, desperate to protect her from the shadows still looming over his life. "But I am," she shot back, her voice firm. "And you can't keep running. You owe it to those who loved you, to yourself. It's time to acknowledge what happened, together." Just as the tension seemed ready to split the air, another voice cut in, more insistent. It was Claire again. "Henry, if there is something we need to know, now is the time. We can't afford to hide from the truth any longer. We deserve to hear it. All of it." The crowd was suddenly alive, people shifting in their seats, glancing between Henry and Mia. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that feels like an electric charge before a storm. "Fine," Henry exhaled, looking at Mia, the weight of a past he wished he could erase sinking deeper into his chest. "But this is painful for all of us. If we're going to do this, we need to be honest. No more secrets." Mia held his gaze, and in that moment, there was an understanding. They had both been carrying heavy burdens, but they could share that weight, at least for now. As Henry took a step forward, clearing his throat, he felt that familiar knot tightening again. "Okay," he began, voice trembling but resolute. "It all started a few years ago, when I made choices that led to her leaving. I thought I was protecting her, but instead, I destroyed us. It was a kind of selfishness wrapped in misguided love." Murmurs of confusion and shock rippled through the crowd. Several crossed their arms, eyes widening, unsure of how to process this revelation. "There were battles I lost, battles with demons I thought I could conquer alone. I wasn't who I needed to be," he continued, his heart pounding against his ribs. "And it cost me everything." Suddenly, one voice piped up, cutting through his painful confession. "But what happened? What did you do to her?" Henry's stomach dropped. The directness of the question was a piercing reminder of his failures. "It wasn't just me," Henry breathed in a whisper. "It was us against a world that was forever changing, and we lost sight of each other in that storm." Mia stepped closer, her presence grounding him. "But you found your way back here, to us. To this community. It's time to finish the story." The crowd leaned in, breaths held the air thick with an emotional tension that was both terrifying and liberating. Would Henry be able to face the darkest parts of his past in front of all these people? Could he truly share the truth without it breaking him? "Yes," he said quickly, resolve building. "And it starts with forgiveness. For myself, and for everyone affected by my mistakes." Just as he spoke the last words, the room vibrated with a palpable energy. Then, out of nowhere, a loud knock echoed from the entrance, jolting everyone from their thoughts. All eyes turned back to the door as yet another figure emerged. The weight of yet another past was about to join the fray. Who was this new arrival, and what were they bringing? Henry felt the dread settle deeper as he muttered under his breath, "What now?" Henry's heart raced as the door swung open, the creaking sound echoing through the charged silence. In stepped a tall man, dressed in an understated yet sharp suit. His presence was commanding, the kind of man who could easily draw attention in any room. The newcomer scanned the crowd, and Henry's pulse quickened further, an instinctive alarm ringing in his ears. He could feel the eyes of the townspeople shift, curiosity mingling with apprehension. No one expected this interruption. The air grew thicker as the tension wrapped around them, like a suffocating blanket. "Who are you?" Claire asked, finally breaking the silence, unease dripping from her tone. The man smiled slightly, a glimmer of something unrecognizable in his eyes. "I'm David," he said, his voice deep and engaging. "I've come about the past." Henry took a step backward, the weight of history pressing down harder on him. He had expected a reckoning with memories and feelings, but this was something different. He could feel Mia shift beside him, her breath catching as she recognized the storm swirling within him. "Do you know him?" she whispered urgently. Henry's throat felt dry, an oppressive lump rising. Part of him wanted to shout at this figure to leave, to allow them to finish this delicate moment of unearthing buried truths. "What do you want?" he managed to say, his voice barely concealing the tremor of his anxiety. David didn't flinch. "I know about the choices you made, and the reasons that led to your separation. But what you don't know is what happened afterward. It's not an ending, it's more complicated than that. His eyes held a mixture of sympathy and something darker. The crowd murmured again, the air shifting with intrigue and confusion. Henry watched as their eyes darted between him and David, unsure who to align themselves with. This isn't the time, David. We're trying to talk about what was lost, not what new horrors you're here to unveil, Henry implored, desperation edging his words, but he could see the resolve in David's posture. You're right. The past requires space. But it also demands truth. Mia's hand found Henry's, grounding him in this chaotic moment. What do you mean? She asked, her voice steady, yet tinged with dread. David's gaze hardened, the warmth of his earlier demeanor flickering like a candle in a gust of wind. The truth I bring might not lighten your burden, but it could change everything for both of you. It's about why she left, and it's more than just your mistakes, he confessed, glancing at the crowd as if assessing their readiness to digest such a shock. Henry's heart thundered in his chest. Could he handle more revelations? The past had already twisted him into knots he could barely cope with the unraveling of the weight he currently bore. But then, like a whisper from a lost friend, he felt Mia squeeze his hand tighter. We can face this together, she urged softly, her eyes reflecting determination and wisdom beyond their years, and just like that, without a moment's pause, Henry knew he had no choice but to confront whatever shadows David was about to unveil. The room felt electrified, emotions swirling chaotically, a tempest waiting to break loose. Then let us hear it, he replied, his voice steadier now, the warmth of Mia's hand igniting a flicker of courage in him. But as David opened his mouth to speak, the door creaked again. Another figure stepped through, barely visible through the gathered crowd. You have to believe me, Henry. It's important. Henry's heart sank, worry clawing at him. The past seemed determined to expose itself piece by piece, as if it was a relentless tide, crashing down on him. What new truths awaited him now? What connections would unravel? All right, he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Let us see where this goes. The crowd shifted restlessly, whispers threading through the air like an electric current. Henry felt the weight of countless eyes upon him, the room thick with anticipation. Who was this new figure? What were they willing to share that could possibly add to the already spiraling chaos? As the newcomer emerged from the shadows, Henry's breath caught in his throat. It was Emily, a name he had never thought he would hear again. Her face, a mixture of determination and fear, cut through the tension like a knife. Emily. He managed to breathe, disbelief washing over him. Memories cascaded through his mind, late nights spent lost in conversation, laughter that had felt as light as air, and the sharp pain of her departure that still lingered in his heart. Yes, it's me, she replied, her voice shaking yet resolute. And I have to explain, it's about Sarah. At the mention of Sarah, the shadow of his past that loomed larger than life, Henry felt his chest tighten. A single name could spark a tempest of emotions. Questions raced through his mind. He had thought he understood all there was to know, had come to terms with the loss. What about her? Henry's voice came out steadier than he felt, clinging to the thread of hope that maybe he could grasp a shard of understanding from this surreal moment. Emily hesitated, glancing at David, who had gone unnaturally still, eyes darting back and forth between them. Sarah didn't leave for the reasons you think, she continued, her gaze locking onto Henry's with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. There were secrets, things that were hidden from you. You were never supposed to find out. Secrets? Mia echoed beside Henry, her voice small yet fierce. She squeezed his hand tighter, seeking to bolster his fading resolve against the incoming storm. Yes. Emily took a deep breath, poised on the precipice of something monumental. The truth is more painful than you can imagine. It haunts me every day. But you deserve to know, Henry. It's about the decisions that led us all to this moment. Tears began to pool in her eyes, the weight of her own burden surfacing. The room fell silent, the collective breaths of the onlookers becoming nearly audible. Henry felt the world narrowing down to the center of Emily's sorrowful gaze. What happened after Sarah left? What did you mean she was never supposed to leave? Emily's voice trembled. I can't say everything right now, but there were forces at play you were unaware of. I witnessed things that altered the course of your life and hers. Only now, I see how it connects us all. It's why I came back. Without thinking, Henry stepped closer. The distance between them felt smaller, yet impossibly vast. Tell me, he urged. I need to know. Just as she opened her mouth, David abruptly shifted his weight. You can't drop this bombshell and not discuss the repercussions, Emily, he warned. Henry deserves clarity, not just fragments. Henry's mind spun. Who was David to dictate what he needed to hear? But he held his tongue. I want to help, Emily stammered, her breath catching again. Please trust that what I say might change everything. I want to help you both understand. But first, we need to be alone to truly uncover this together. A surge of emotions battled within Henry. The past was a jigsaw puzzle, but could he fit the pieces back together? And did he truly want to? The murmurs grew louder, shadows of doubt inching closer. Do you think you can trust her? He heard someone whisper from the back. What have we got to lose? Another replied. With the crowd swirling around him, he turned to Mia, whose steady gaze and slight nod gave him courage. All right, he said loudly, rallying the courage he didn't necessarily feel. Let's step outside. You're right, David. It's time to confront whatever we have to face. As he made eye contact with Emily, the question hung thick in the air: was he ready to unravel the tangled web of their shared history? And in doing so, would he find healing, or just more heartache? As the group slowly moved toward the door, Henry felt his heart pounding. What would he learn from this encounter? And would knowing the truth help him finally set himself free? Henry stepped outside, the cool breeze wrapping around him like a shroud. The weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on his shoulders, his heart thundering in rhythm with his racing thoughts. As he turned to Emily and David, he knew they were all standing on the edge ready to leap into the unknown together. Mia stayed close, her unwavering presence offering solace in this swirling storm. She gave him a small, encouraging smile that made him feel a connection, a tether to the hope he desperately needed right now. Look, Henry began, taking a deep breath to gather his thoughts. I know the past is a complicated tangle of mistakes and losses. But whatever you have to say, I'm ready. I need to understand. Emily looked pained, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. It's about Sarah, she whispered, glancing nervously at David. She didn't leave just to escape. There was so much more going on, things I didn't know how to navigate. The pressures of her life, they consumed her. The words cut into Henry like shards of glass. There had always been a lingering question in his mind, a disbelief that Sarah had walked away without a fight. But hearing it spoken out loud twisted his gut painfully. What do you mean? He pressed, his voice firm but straining with emotion. After the separation, everything became a blur of shame and guilt for me, Emily continued. Sarah was deeply affected by everything that happened, and fear drove her into hiding. But I found out later she was struggling with more than just our friendship and the fallout of her decisions. David stepped in, his tone calm. Sarah was under pressure from outside forces. She felt trapped. There were threats, financial and personal, that loomed over her. Things she couldn't control. When she left the community, it wasn't just running away. It was survival. Henry clenched his fists. The truth felt like a dagger, sharp and unyielding. He had never considered Sarah as a victim in that way. And you didn't tell me? He said, hurt coloring his voice. Emily shook her head vigorously. I wanted to protect you. I thought keeping you out of it was the best for you. But now I see this choice may have hurt us both. The unspoken silence hung thick, festering with old wounds. Now it's my turn to ask the hardest question, David interjected, his gaze steady. What are you going to do with this information? Henry felt every breath tear through him like jagged glass. The thought of reaching out for Sarah loomed in his mind like an impossible mountain. I need to face her. Understand what happened. If she thought leaving was the only choice, then I owe it to her to myself to hear her story. Mia's hand squeezed his again, grounding him. But what about the community? They need to know that you're taking this seriously and willing to fight for them, for their future. Recognition flooded him, illuminating a path forward. You're right. Whatever happened with Sarah, I can't allow her situation to distract from the promise I made to this community. They are my responsibility now, and I am determined to uplift every single one of them. David nodded, respect evident in his expression. That's the spirit you need to carry forward. You'll show them you're more than just a billionaire. This is about connection, healing, and learning from the pain. In that moment, resolve ignited within him. He would reach out to Sarah, not only to confront their shared past but to reconcile with the mistakes and unseen pressures that shaped them both. As they turned towards the community center, ready to face whatever lay ahead, a sense of clarity settled in Henry's chest. He was ready to rebuild not just for himself, but for all those who had suffered, the community that had embraced him, and the woman he had lost. Together, they entered the building, and Henry looked out at the sea of faces waiting for the truth. We have a lot of work to do, he declared, his voice rising above the whispers. And I am committed to making it right. Let us create a future together, an inclusive, loving, and empowered future. As the crowd erupted in applause, a wave of warmth washed over Henry, igniting a spark of hope in their hearts. The journey ahead would be complex, but he was no longer alone. Together, they would weave healing into the fabric of their community, transforming pain into strength and whispers into voices of resilience. This was just the beginning. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories about love, hope, and transformation that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help our community grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this uplifting journey. Don't wait not even one more second to be a part of this movement. Only true fans get the importance of coming together in hope.